If you had told anybody prior to this season that John Morant would become a top 10 player and even be in the MVP conversation, they would look at you funny. They would look at you like you just said something so stupid. Because in reality, back then, you it did sound stupid. And the same thing goes with predictions made on the Grizzlies team as a whole. A lot of people had high hopes for them coming into the season, myself included, but I'll get into that later. Because the Grizzlies team has exceeded all expectations and they're now playing with house money because with the increased media attention that John Morant has given the Grizzlies franchise, we are beginning to see just how well built this franchise is, not just for the present today, but for the future as a whole. Just recently in 2017, the Grizzlies were still a good team. And that was before Conley and Gasol would end up leaving the team via trades. And it would be at that moment that the Grizzlies would begin one of the most fascinating, one of the least talked about, and one of the best rebuilds I've ever seen. And they did this with a great front office that needs to be talked about way more. I mean, just the trades they were able to pull off. They had so many players with big contracts that they, ended up trading away for good young guys that are now being key contributors for this team. That's not even to mention the young players they acquired for the draft that now constitute the core of this team. It's just so many hits during this recent rebuild, and the Memphis Grizzlies, man, they have a star in John Morant that is very capable in helping his team win games, but he wouldn't be able to pull this team up and make them a second place team as they are right now in the Western Conference, and also having the second best record in the NBA. No, that's a team thing. That's a team effort. And you can see this team, Memphis, being 20-2 as of now without John Morant. They have a defense that performs better when John Morant isn't on the court. And then their offense, they take less risk. They turn the ball over less because now Tyus Jones is your starting point guard. And then you have Jaren Jackson Jr., more free to roam on defense in the perimeter. Defensive player of the year candidate. There's so much in this Memphis team. And that's not even to mention how deep they are. Their bench unit is comprised of guys that can play big minutes, and that's coming in after only playing at most 2 minutes in a game, being DNP'd 13 straight times by the coach. But okay, I'm getting way too ahead of myself. Let's get at this bit by bit, and first we'll get into the defense. Jaren Jackson Jr. is for sure going to be getting votes for Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think he's going to win it. I think Giannis got that award. What he provides for you at that end is opponents shoot 14.5 percentage points less than their average when Jaren Jackson Jr. is the one contesting those shots from within 6 feet. And then you got your best point of attack defender, Dillon Brooks, coming in, making key plays, guarding the best player when there's a guard out there. And Kyle Anderson's got that length to guard anybody. And then you got Tyus Jones. He's a scrappy guy. He'll get those steals. It's really just a dynamic defense. You could see it when you watch them play. It's really fun to watch. On offense, you got one of the more efficient players in Desmond Bane. He is perhaps the most efficient player in this draft class, and the fact that he's been able to keep up with that efficiency with the increased volume and shooting that he's been able to do in the second year, spectacular. He's the quickest player to reach 200 3-pointers made while shooting 40% in his career. This guy is so good. He can play some defense, you know what I mean? He can give you some defensive plays. But then you got on offense, another guy that can play defense, Tyus Jones, man. We all know him as the player that takes care of the ball the best in the league. He dishes it out whilst never turning it over, it seems. He has the highest assist to turnover ratio this season. Not only that, but he's had the single season record for assist to turnover ratio in a season. And not only that, he averages the highest ever career assist to turnover ratio for a person that qualifies in that category. So although he doesn't play the minutes Chris Paul plays, although he doesn't have the volume in which Chris Paul has in terms of dishing it out, averaging 10 assists a game during the season, look, he is one of the premier guards in this league. And then you have On the offensive boards, Steven Adams averaging the most offensive rebounds this year in the league, and that accounts for them being number 1 in offensive rebounds and number 1 in second chance points. Steven Adams is a player you must have on your team. He's so damn important, and he does some facilitating too. I think that trade, you may think Valanciunas, he's a better offensive player, but in terms of what he gives you on the defensive end, and then the boards, the second chance points, it's so important to have those in your game. And I think a guy like Brandon Clark, he'll give you some valuable minutes. He had a historic rookie year, but it was overshadowed by Ja Morant. He had the highest efficiency field goal percentage for a rookie in the history of the NBA that season, and I think a lot of people don't talk about it enough, I guess because he didn't have a good second year. Now his third year, he's trying to recover, he's trying to get some minutes back, he's trying to get back acclimated into the team, into the roster. It makes sense that a lot of people would forget about him. And then the coach Taylor Jenkins, he has to be one of the premier candidates for Coach of the Year. I do still think Monty Williams should win it, but I would not be mad if Taylor Jenkins ended up coming out top there. Because think about it, being 20-2 without your best player, a lot of that has to come from the coach and the way he disciplines his guys, gets them to play the right way on both ends. It's just, when you're missing a key piece in Ja Morant, you'd think this team would go 0-12 or something. They are 20-2. They're almost at a 74-win pace if they were to play the whole season like this. This is incredible. And then you have to talk about what makes it all possible. The bench, Xavier Tillman, guys like John Conchar, they give this team such valuable minutes. DeAnthony Melton, oh my goodness, he's averaging almost 20 points a game in the last 7 games Ja Morant hasn't played, shooting over 55% from deep. You hear me? From deep. This ain't a joke no more, man. This guy's legit. Santi Aldama is another player that I think a lot of people just forget about. I certainly haven't forgotten about him ever since that game against OKC when he came in, played big minutes. As a matter of fact, he has the single game highest plus minus in NBA history. It's just amazing. Also, the Grizzlies did make history by having the highest margin of victory over a team in NBA history. Yeah, that's something else that happened during that game. This season has just been fantastic for the Grizzlies. This may be their best season ever. I mean, in terms of record, it certainly is. It's the first time they've ever claimed the Southwestern Division in their franchise history, even going back to when they were in Vancouver. This never happened. I mean, a lot of history being made for this team. It's really good to see. They have shooters scoring at a high clip from deep, and then they have guys going in the paint. They lead the league in points in the paint. That's largely due to how great Ja Morant has been as a finisher from inside. I mean, this guy is so electric, but he's also so efficient from there, and it's very interesting. And I thought, making this video, I wanted to point out that it's not just Ja Morant that's making this team so great. It's everybody else. There's so many moving pieces in this team, and just to know that their future is so bright and that the Grizzlies have the brightest future in the league according to many experts and their owner. The word's out, man. You're the third richest guy in the NBA amongst owners? And how is it that we didn't know this until now? Brian Woodhorst recently wrote an article detailing how tech giant CEO Robert Pera was struggling to buy the franchise back in 2012 when things weren't going so well for his company. And just like the Grizzlies right now, he had big goals for his company at that point. And with all of that going on in his life, you had him diligently working hard to find partners to invest in the Grizzlies. Guys like Justin Timberlake came in, guys like former NBA player Ellie Perry. I mean, you had guys coming in helping him out, but then you also had him working hard from behind the scenes. He's a very quiet guy. You rarely see him on TV, but those close to him assured us and everyone watching that he's working very hard every day to try to get this Grizzlies team to be a contending team for years to come. He's in touch with the general manager every day, it seems. He paid multiple millions of dollars to try to refurnish the practice facility, rebuild the arena, just making sure that things were in tip-top shape in Memphis. And you could see a lot of that investment now paying off as this team is now starting to play better. The crowds are just getting more and more excited to see what this team can possibly do, not just for this season, but for the future as a whole. They have Again, the brightest future out of any team in the league. Just knowing that their rebuild went so smoothly, going so fast, things moved so quickly. And now, Robert Parra recently having made over $2 billion. I mean, just come on, man. Things are just moving up, not just for the owner, but for the Grizzlies as a whole. He said recently that he is going to spend big on this Grizzlies team coming down the line when these guys are going to need to get paid. Oh my goodness. You may think to yourself, this is a small market team. How are they going to afford? Didn't I just tell you he's the third richest owner in the NBA? I mean, he's gonna get that money somehow. He's gonna figure it out, and he's gonna pay these guys the money they deserve. And so that's just a couple of years where he could probably afford to pay that luxury tax, and this Grizzlies team is going to be dangerous for years to come. I'm pretty sure if they keep going this direction, I'm pretty sure this could be even better than what we've seen out of OKC with KD, Westbrook, and Harden. Sam Presti being the genius there, and then also seeing the dynasty of the Warriors and how well that worked out for them. I mean, look, if they don't pan out and never end up winning a championship like the OKC Thunder, that will be one of the biggest what-if stories. But if they do end up being a dynasty, they don't even have to win 3 rings. Look, if they win at least 1 or 2 championships, I'm pretty sure, like the Warriors, this Grizzlies franchise is going to double, triple, even quadruple in net worth. This team's going to get so valuable. It's going to be so much more expensive to buy a Grizzlies team. So whoever's packing up with that money, act fast, because as the world wakes up and sees what Grizzlies fans have always seen out of their franchise, people are going to be putting their stock on them more and more, and it's going to be a hot ticket to try to buy those seats watching a Grizzlies game. Look, I talked about the Grizzlies and how great their front office has been. Zach Kleeman, excellent job. He's a genius. He's arguably better than guys like Sam Presti. And I made this video before the season even began, talking about how great this front office is and how much better this Grizzlies team is going to be moving forward. So give you guys some love, man. Go check it out. Also, sorry in advance for the bad audio. It was my first month making videos with that channel. So yeah, bye.